Picture this. You're taking a regular walk around the neighborhood when you see a dog tied up in its yard, looking severely malnourished, and its owners are nowhere in sight. What would you do? Hopefully you would do the right thing and not just think that you would. I'm here to talk to you today about animal abuse, also known as animal neglect. I will be specifically talking about animals that can be seen as pets, since this is the most common form of abuse in animals. I will discuss cats, dogs, and other domesticated animals. For those who don't know, domesticated animals are tamed and kept as pets or pets or animals that are on a farm. Now I know what you're thinking, that it's crazy and who in their right mind would hurt something so defenseless. But it's more common than you think. There are an average of 920 animal abuse cases per year. And all ages do it too. There have been cases of adults, seniors, teens, and even children abusing animals. Studies show that most animal abusers were teenagers. Most teenagers who abused animals were kids who were abused when they were younger. They lash out on the closest thing next to them, which happens to be animals, because the animals won't harm them back. Out of 1,920 cases abuses a year, out of the 1920 cases of animal abuses a year, 60% of animal abuse cases were dogs, 18% were cats, and another 22% were other animals. Out of all the forms of abuse, the most common form was neglect. 32% of the animal cases per year were neglect or abandonment. Other forms of abuse were shooting, hoarding, beating, biting, stabbing, mutilation or torture, choking, strangling, suffocation, burning, and poison. Both of my dogs, Piper and Kobe, were dogs of neglect. My oldest dog, Piper, had a litter of 13, and they were taken away from their mother too soon and left abandoned. My other dog, Kobe, his brother, and his mother were left to wander the streets of Memphis, Tennessee alone. The shelter that took them in was going to put them down immediately. Him and his brother were 8 weeks, and his mother was 3. These are just two of many more dogs who were left to fend for themselves. And not all of them had a happy ending. When researching, I found a story about how a cat was nearly crushed in a garbage truck. It was found in a trash bag, doused with gasoline and tied up and left to die. Another dog at one of my favorite shelters, Fur Kids, was found when a woman saw him being beaten and called the police. He was beaten so badly that his eye had to be removed in surgery. He is only an 8-week-old, 5-pound puppy. If this doesn't make you sick, I don't know what will. Now, your next question might be, what can we do to prevent or stop animal abuse? Well, I'm glad you asked because there are many things you can do to stop animal abuse. One thing is to follow the 4 steps that I found on animalhumane.org. Step 1 is to evaluate the situation. You need to make sure the situation is actually neglect and not that it just looks like neglect. You can check during different parts of the day. Some sure signs of neglect are that there are no shelter, a collar that is too small, lack of grooming, mange, and starvation. If you don't increase the size of a collar as the animal is getting bigger, it can lead to injury, strangulation, and even death. Lack of grooming can cause matting and sores, especially in long-haired animals. Mange is caused by tiny parasites. Mange leads to itching, loss of hair, and sores from scratching and biting to relieve the irritation. Mange is easily treated with medicated baths. Starvation is caused not only by lack of food, but also by improper food, untreated diseases, and parasites. Step 2 is to report the animal abuse. AmericanHumane.org says if you witness abuse or neglect, report it to your local animal control, law enforcement, or humane organization. If authorities agree that there is a possibility of neglect or abuse, they will investigate and decide how to help the animal. The most common reason why owners mistreat their pets is because they can't fully comprehend what their pet requires. Humane officers can help explain how to properly care for animals. Unfortunately, some owners just could care less and don't take the responsibility of owning a pet seriously. In situations when a humane officer needs to step in, owners may choose to surrender the animal instead of changing the situation to take care of the animal properly. If the pet is found extremely unhealthy or clearly abused, the humane officer may bring it into custody throughout the investigation. If charges are filed, you can offer to testify or sign a complaint. Witnesses may be rare in abuse cases, which means you may be the only one who testifies. Humane officers try to respond quickly as possible, but they get so many calls each day, so don't be alarmed if they can't answer you right away. If you are worried for the animal's immediate safety, tell the officer. Never attempt to save an animal from a possibly abusive situation or neglectful situation by yourself. This is illegal and could be very unsafe for yourself. Also, by doing this, you haven't prevented the owner from getting another pet to abuse or help him turn into a caring, responsible owner. Step 3 is to make sure you understand the law. Anti-cruelty laws vary depending where you are. The legal definition of abuse, neglect, or suitable environments may vary also. The consequences for animal abuse may also vary. Luckily, society has begun to understand that animal abuse as a part of the cycle of violence and is calling for stronger penalties against abusers and stronger enforcement abilities. Many states have added penalties to their anti-cruelty laws. If you have questions about how the case will go on with your legal system, talk to the investigating officer. The investigating officer might not be allowed to discuss the details of the case with you. They are still working hard and doing everything they can. The final and most important step is to prevent animal abuse. The key to preventing neglect is education. Several owners don't realize how significant love is to a pet, or something as simple as that a puppy can outgrow its collar. Stronger anti-cruelty laws can help avoid abuse in the first place and are crucial. Anti-cruelty laws are laws that authorize effective enforcement and include severe consequences. Serious consequences can prevent neglect and can stop the events from happening at all. It can also help previous abusers to not do it again. You can help stop these malicious situations by notifying others about what to do if they see a similar case. You can also help them to comprehend on how to train and care for their pets so that the abuser never happens again. AmericanHumane.org listed some ways you can do this. Some ways to do this you can include are to schedule a speaker from your local humane agency to talk at your church or any clubs that you belong to. Do the same for any children's groups like scout groups, daycare centers, and schools. Set up a brown bag lecture series at your office, conducted by a humane agency or pet care, basic behavior solutions, and animal welfare issues. Get pet care and behavior pamphlets from your humane agency to distribute to any of your coworkers or friends with new pets. Put together packets of treats and a pet care book or video to give friends who have just gotten a new pet. Include spay and neuter information, tags, and a vaccination record book. Obedience lessons make a great gift for a new puppy. Support any initiatives to strengthen your state's anti-cruelty laws. Write to your paper and TV stations whenever animal cruelty stories appear. Tell them you support strong penalties for these abusers. Contribute to or volunteer at your local shelter where they must deal with these appalling situations. Now, when you see a neglected or an animal abuser, I hope you can take action. Don't hesitate because you could save a life. There are many organizations who help rescue animals that have been abused and neglected. The SPCA, which stands for the Society of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the Humane Society of the United States, and the ASPCA, which stands for the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, are just a few of these organizations. StrayPetAdvocacy.org says, cruelty to animals is defined as wantonly or cruelty ill treats, overloads, beats, otherwise any abuses any animal or neglect any animal as to which has a duty to care, whether belonging to himself or otherwise, or abandons any animal, or deprives any animal of necessary sustenance, drink, shelter, or veterinary care, or access to clean and sanitary shelter, which will protect the animal against inclement weather and preserve the animal's body heat and keep it dry. This is a summary offense with a fine up to of $50 to $750 and or imprisonment up to 90 days. Since you have now heard who abuses animals and why they do it, you can apply your knowledge on what you should do if you see someone hurting or abusing an animal. So when you go home today, I hope that you will think about what I have told you, and if you ever have to apply it, you will be able to. Thank you for listening.